You're watching the Cam Rogers Show here on Chat Sports Facebook Live. Hit me up on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. We are presented by Mizzen and Main. These are advanced performance fabric shirts that you will love. Comfortable.af is the website. Sweat wicking technology, all that good stuff. Get it done today, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we got Eugenio watching the show today. We got Todd, Brian. Let's get into some NFL headlines, huh? We'll start things off with the Philadelphia Eagles. So, Howie Roseman has said, we're open for business in every round. So for the Philadelphia Eagles here, they are very much in the hunt to trade back that 32nd overall pick. And you want to talk about, that's reasonable because the Eagles don't have a lot of draft capital at this juncture. So the Eagles don't have a second-round pick or a third-round pick. So trading back that number 1 round pick would make a lot of sense in my eyes. The last pick in the first round of the draft has been traded 3 of the last 4 years. So if you want to go off of history here, there could be some potentiality for a trade back. Now, the Eagles don't have a glaring need, at least in my eyes. Maybe at corner, you got Ronald Darby, Jalen Mills. You could perhaps look for a replacement because Patrick Robinson is now a member of the New Orleans Saints. If you are Howie Roseman, you are certainly keeping your phone lines open because you want to accumulate as much draft capital as possible, I think, because, you know, maybe you don't really need a first-round pick if you're the Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe you want some collection of second-round and third-round picks out there to help you make that run for a Super Bowl repeat performance. Will the Eagles repeat as Super Bowl champions in Super Bowl 53? Let me know in comments. I'll be reading what you guys say throughout the broadcast. We got Wyatt watching the show, Panthers fan. Naomi is a Niners fan. Petey, go Cowboys. And more comments chiming in as well. John Rogers, go Raiders for life. What up, John? Thanks for watching the show here today. Let me know what you think about the Philadelphia Eagles. Jesse says, no, the Eagles will not repeat as Super Bowl champions. We haven't seen it since the Patriots did it in the early 2000s, and in this salary cap era, it sure does seem difficult for a team to repeat because, well, there are a lot of things you got to fight off. You got to fight off players moving on in free agency and cashing out because they have that nice resume there with that Super Bowl win that they can really get paid for, and also the Super Bowl hangover. Can't forget about that either. But Carson Wentz, another thing to look at there, the uncertainty in terms of his health. We don't know if he's going to be starting in Week 1. So looking at the comment section here, we got Mike Niner, faithful, love it. Greg, a Jets fan. Wow, we are well represented across the nation in terms of all of the fan bases out there. So do appreciate you guys chiming in. Any Jags fans in comments right now because the Jaguars unveiled some new uniforms yesterday, and we have a picture of the new colors, I guess. I guess you could say a new scheme out there. Here's a look at things. So I like the all-white, in my opinion. I like the all-black as well. And then a little bit of a color rush kind of feel to the all-green type deal there for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The team is actually going back to the all-black helmets they used earlier in their history, including when current Executive Vice President of Football Operations, Tom Coughlin, was the team's head coach. So it's 5 new uniform combinations. They have white, teal and black, and pants in the same color with the options of going all one color or mixing the black pants with either of the other jerseys out there. So what do you guys think about that color scheme there? Let me know. Any Jaguars fans watching the Cam Rogers Show? Be sure to let me know what your thoughts are here on Facebook Live as well as YouTube. So there you go. Miami Dolphins, by the way, have new uniforms, but they're really not that different. So it's like air quotes there in terms of new. All right, let's get to some more news here. The Giants have cut Brandon Marshall. The news broke yesterday, so honestly, I'm shocked it took this long, to be honest with you guys. Marshall was cut after he failed a physical with the Giants. All you Giants fans know, Marshall only played in 5 games last year, got hurt with an ankle, and he missed the rest of the campaign. Only had, what was it, like over 100 yards, just a shade over 100 yards receiving. It was not very impressive for him. And Marshall is really no longer the receiver he used to be, so in that vein, it's really not the worst thing in the world for the Giants to cut him. They save around $5 million against the salary cap, roughly $1 million in dead money. And how about this? Paving the way, perhaps, Giants fans, for Dez Bryant to come to the Big Apple and play for Big Blue. So out goes Brandon Marshall, in comes Dez Bryant. I'm sure you guys saw out there on the interwebs that Dez Bryant posted on Instagram working out with Odell Beckham Jr., doing the ropes drills there, and they had, I think, NFL Network in the background there, and they were talking about Dez Bryant. No, they were talking about the Dallas Cowboys and whether they could make the playoffs without Dez Bryant. So Tyler saying, yes, he got cut, signed Dez, or extend Odell. What about both, Tyler? Extend Odell and bring in Dez Bryant. Now, Dez has said, according to reports at least, that he is willing to take less money for a team out there that is highly regarded in his own eyes, i.e. the New York Giants. Meanwhile, for Brandon Marshall, is it a career for him, guys? What do you think? Is it all over for B-Marsh? And I am not apt to say yes just yet. I still think he has something left in the tank. Now, I don't know how he's going to perform after that ankle injury. I mean, ankles can be finicky. They can stick with you for quite some time here. So let me just say this. Sure is awfully convenient that Brandon Marshall failed his physical recently after Dez Bryant spoke highly of the New York Giants to 105.3 The Fan, and Dez Bryant is on the open market and reportedly holds the Giants as his top choice. So, I don't know about you guys, but it sure seems like Dez Bryant is going to become a member of the New York Giants. Am I wrong? I don't know, but we'll see what happens. Let me know what you think about Brandon Marshall there. We got Joe chiming in, too many egos. Well, that's an interesting point. How would Dez Bryant and Odell Beckham Jr. mesh together on the football field? Looks like they're good friends off the field, but let's say Odell gets a big-time target share in the receiving game there, and Dez Bryant is kind of getting overshadowed by Sterling Shepard, perhaps, and Dez doesn't like that. Not saying, you know, there's going to be some problems here in terms of chemistry, but it's something to keep in mind. These are two wide receivers that are used to being wide receivers number one on the list. Odell obviously will be the number one guy, even if Dez is signed by the New York Giants. But we'll see what happens there. John says, I see Marshall going to Cleveland. Well, speaking of those Cleveland Browns, John, let's get to some interesting news here. Reportedly, Cleveland considered going quarterback in that first round of the NFL draft. Wow. I know it's my job to speak words, but I'm actually kind of speechless about this. Why in God's green earth would the Cleveland Browns consider going quarterback, especially at number 1 overall and number 4 overall? Now, this according to The Ringer, the Browns have, quote, thought about it, discussed it, and investigated it. Apparently, the thought process was perhaps not to go quarterback at 1 and 4, but to trade away that 4th slot and draft a quarterback later in round 1. So it would be at number 1 and later in round 1. If this actually happens, I'm going to lose my ish, because as a Ravens fan, the Browns are like little brother to me, guys. So like I kind of want to see them perform well out there, and to see him do something like that, I think, in terms of John Dorsey here making that decision, I believe would be just about brutal. First off, the Browns already have an assumed starter in Tyrod Taylor, plus a capable backup in Drew Stanton, and likely Sam Darnold at number 1 overall. So it's like you're telling me they could perhaps trade back and draft a Lamar Jackson or Mason Rudolph? I mean, come on now. Now we're talking about 4 quarterbacks on the roster. You're going to have to cut one of them at that point. Like, I just don't think it makes sense. So, Browns, I am calling out for you a favor. Please do not select a quarterback back-to-back in the first round. Predict for me, ladies and gentlemen, watching the Cam Rogers Show right now, Who will the Browns draft at number 1 and number 4 overall? I'll give you guys my answer. I think it's Darnold, and I think it's either Saquon Barkley or Bradley Chubb, depending on who is there. If both of them are there, then I think it's Saquon Barkley there at number 4. Think about the cornerstone of the franchise for many years to come. Darnold under center, Saquon behind him. That's a pretty good 1-2 punch here. So just tracking some of the comments that are flowing in here. We got Tom watching the show. We got Daniel Connor watching the Cam Rogers show as well. What up, Daniel? Appreciate you coming along for the ride. I saw Marcus in there as well. Marcus, thanks for joining the program. Happy to have you on this Friday. So let me know what you guys think about the Cleveland Browns at number 1 and number 4. Tyler thinks Sam Darnold and Josh Allen. That is a hot take of the morning, ladies and gentlemen. I love it. So we'll see what happens there with Cleveland, but they obviously considered going quarterback. I just think it would be the most Browns thing ever if that were to go down. All right, let's talk about Peyton Manning. So we all know that Manning is kind of the white whale here in the hunt for a broadcaster. And we're talking about Fox on Thursday Night Football, and we're talking about ESPN's Monday Night Football. Both companies looked into Peyton Manning to be an analyst for their games. Fox is doing Thursday, ESPN doing Monday, of course, and Manning reportedly declined the offers for a couple of reasons, but more notably because he did not want to cover Eli Manning's games for the New York Giants. So, yeah, that's, I guess, a factor in Peyton Manning's decision process here in terms of not becoming a broadcaster just yet. So obviously an interesting story here, and they've noted that, or actually something that is likely preventable here is that Peyton Manning doesn't have to call Eli Manning games. Like, you can work around that, I would think, right? So, I mean, I think it's kind of an interesting little note there in terms of part of the reason why Peyton Manning doesn't want to call games. Now, again, part of the reason, there are other factors here. Manning has gone on record to say he doesn't want to be a critic just yet, later joking he's on too many commercials. Spoiler alert, Peyton, you are. What is he on? Nationwide and Papa John's? What else? Anyone else remember? Maybe it was DirecTV as well. He's on some commercials for that too. He is doing some philanthropic work, spending time with his family, so he's got his priorities in good order. Anywho, Fox is reportedly going with Troy Aikman and Joe Buck for the Thursday night package, but Joe was recently on NFL Network saying he doesn't know quite yet. They're still working through all of that. Do you want Peyton Manning in the broadcast booth? I think he would be a good one. Now, we've seen him in the booth before. You saw on the photo B-roll there that he was with Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth a couple of times for some guest appearances and things like that. But Fox and ESPN both offered him $10 million, 10, to be a broadcaster for them, and he declined. So I don't really think money is a factor here. I think Peyton Manning wants to be impactful in whatever he does, and he feels like spending time with his family and doing some charities and things like that is the best course of action for now, as well as singing that jingle there for Nationwide. So Peyton Manning reportedly getting some offers out there from ESPN and Fox, but apparently does not want to call Eli Manning games. By the way, if you're wondering, Peyton Manning 3-0 against Eli Manning in his career, so I guess he doesn't want to go any higher than that via the broadcast booth, I guess. All right, let's get to Tom Brady here. So what's the deal with retirement, no retirement, non-committal, committal? So teammates believe Tom Brady will return to the New England Patriots in 2018. Michael Giardi of NBC Sports Boston reported he spoke to 2 of Tom Brady's teammates. They noted they've had talks with the quarterback during the offseason and that Brady, quote, never indicated he wasn't playing/retiring. I also indicated that I wasn't running for president. Doesn't mean I am going to. So it's like, I mean, it's one of those deals where it doesn't really answer the question. It really doesn't give us a lot of information. The expectation, though, is Brady will return to the Patriots despite his lack of communication with New England and New England's leadership from what we know. According to Adam Schefter, one source told him, quote, "My money would be on him playing football for the foreseeable future, but what goes on away from the field, I don't know." Very much a developing story, very much up in the air here. Schefter also said part of the reason Brady has been missing voluntary workouts for the first time since 2010 was because he wants to spend more time with, wait for it, Alex Guerrero, his body coach, the center of the tensions within the Patriots organization, right? Dating back to that ESPN report that came out with Seth Wickersham saying that Alex Guerrero was a point of contention for Bill Belichick. So I have a feeling the whole Brady spending more time with Guerrero thing isn't sitting very well with Captain Control Bill Belichick there. The reality is, I think the end is coming for Brady. I don't think it is soon, or at least it shouldn't be, because Brady won the MVP in 2017. He's not showing any Peyton Manning type of deterioration, if you will. So in that vein, I don't think there's any reason for Tom Brady to retire. Now, I am not at the dinner table with Tom Brady and his wife and his kids hearing what they're talking about in terms of the future. None of us have been. We don't know the inside information. So perhaps Giselle and Tom have talked about 2018 and beyond, and maybe Tom Brady is mulling over the potentiality of retiring. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying it's maybe like a 2% chance. But there is a chance. Hit me up in the reaction poll. What do you know, or what do you think about Tom Brady in terms of retiring in 2018? Give me a heart for yes, there is a chance. Give me a like for no chance at all. We got JJ chiming in. He's staying and we'll play for a little while. I agree with you, JJ. Thanks for watching the program here. Tyler says he's always thinking about retiring. Look, when you have a bunch of Super Bowls and a storied career, probably already cemented yourself as the greatest quarterback of all time, maybe there's no reason to continue playing. But if he still has that competitive flair, it might be hard to hang him up. And here's what I don't want from Tom Brady. I don't want a Brett Favre situation where he retires, he gets the itch again, he comes back to New England, but yet New England has already moved on to Lamar Jackson, Mason Rudolph as the starter there. So, yeah, we don't want that because then it gets all messy and all that stuff. Wyatt, watching the show. Tom's the GOAT. Wyatt, I hate to agree with you, but he is. As a Ravens fan, it pains me to say that the Patriots are one of the great teams of this decade and perhaps the best team of this decade. And, yeah, Tom Brady, the greatest of all time at quarterback. There, I said it, okay? Sheesh. All right, so yeah, the report is Tom Brady likely to return in 2018. So Patriots fans, breathe easy. And also, don't come at me and, you know, with your pitchforks and your sticks of fire here. I'm just reporting what I am hearing. I am not, you know, saying that anything is going to happen. So there you go. All right, let's get into some Dez Bryant news here. Sounds like the Washington Redskins are saying no thank you to the star wide receiver. We know Dez wants to play the Cowboys twice a year, but don't expect Washington to be the site for Dez Bryant here in 2018. J.P. Finley of NBC Sports Washington spoke with sources within the Redskins organization and said Washington has no interest in pursuing Dez Bryant. I'm not all that surprised, to be honest with you. The Redskins already added Paul Richardson at wideout to play opposite of Josh Dotson, who I think could have a very solid future there with the Redskins. They also have Jamison Crowder, a healthy Jordan Reed, fingers crossed, as well. I don't think the Redskins really want to take a chance on Dez Bryant. Maybe it's from an off-the-field standpoint. Maybe it's from a mental standpoint. Maybe it's from just a pure need perspective, too. Maybe they don't really know how they're going to fit him into that offense, and I'm not really sure Dez Bryant would fit into that offense either. Now, in terms of recent history here with Dez, has only surpassed 800 yards receiving once in the past 3 seasons, scoring 17 touchdowns combined during that same span. Since 2015, Bryant has failed to haul in better than 52% of his passes thrown his way. For some reason, I don't think Alex Smith to Dez Bryant really isn't all that great of a tandem there. I just don't think it would work, at least on the surface. So with the recent news of Brandon Marshall getting cut by the New York Giants and the Giants saving $5 million in salary cap space, it sure sounds like there's an opening for Dez to go to New York. And there is an opportunity to play the Dallas Cowboys twice a year, including a Sunday night football showdown in Dallas, which I think would be ultra fun to watch. So there you go. Obviously, a story we'll continue to monitor here with Dez Bryant as he mulls over potential options out there on the open market. Some teams I want you guys to keep in mind. San Francisco 49ers, the salary cap space is there. It's whether or not John Lynch wants to make the move. Indianapolis Colts, outside of T.Y. Hilton, you have Chester Rogers and Ryan Grant, who failed the physical with the Baltimore Ravens. So, yeah. Seattle Seahawks, okay, another team to watch out for. After Doug Baldwin there, it's like Tyler Lockett and Marcus Johnson. Doesn't really scare opposing secondaries. Then you've got some other teams out there. I saw somebody mention the Panthers. John said it. Thanks for that comment, John. Panthers could make some sense. Also, the Buffalo Bills. I just don't think Dez would want to go up to Orchard Park and play in Buffalo, especially Dez hailing from the state of Texas, going up there to snowy Buffalo, not exactly all that tempting. So Wyatt wants Dez to come on over to the Carolina Panthers. I think that would be an interesting little addition there for Cam Newton. I'm thinking Cam Newton would actually have some fun there with Dez Bryant at the wide receiver position there. So keep hitting me up in the comment section, and of course, I'll read what you guys say here. We got Vincent saying Philadelphia. Just don't think that salary cap space is there, Vincent. Philadelphia will have to make some salary cap cuts there. All right, folks, you're watching the Cam Rogers Show here on Chat Sports Facebook Live, presented by Visit in Maine. Hit them up, comfortable.af, for these advanced performance fabric shirts that are fantastic at that, but not just shirts. They got sweatshirts, hats, pants, and so much more. Products made right here in America. All right, so some draft news. A report says that Baker to the New York Jets is, quote, a done deal. The Jets are reportedly sold on the former OU quarterback, and the Jets are selecting at number 3 overall. So obviously, Baker Mayfield could be there. And I'm thinking it's a good fit. And I've been saying this for a few weeks now. I have been teetering back and forth between Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield. But the more I analyze, the more I think about it, I think Baker Mayfield is the better option for Jeremy Bates as the offensive coordinator. Jeremy Bates loves the West Coast offense. Josh Allen doesn't really scream West Coast offense. Like, you need somebody who's accurate, and Josh Allen with a sub 60% completion percentage leaves a little to be desired there. Meanwhile, for Baker Mayfield, the Heisman Trophy winner, the guy was absolutely unbelievable in 2017 for Oklahoma. If he can carry that momentum into the NFL, would do wonders for the New York Jets. And then the other thing is this. There's no pressure for him to start in week 1. You have 2 capable quarterbacks on the Jets roster. You've got Josh McCown, who is the ultimate bridge quarterback outside of Ryan Fitzmagic. And then you got Teddy Bridgewater as well. So you're Baker Mayfield, and you don't feel like a massive weight on your shoulders to be anointed as the savior in New York. Now, with that said, I have already listed out the nickname for Baker Mayfield if he goes to the Jets. Write this down, ladies and gentlemen. You got a pen in your hands? Big Apple Baker. Believe it, folks. Believe it. Now, who is the best quarterback prospect in the draft? Let me know in the reaction poll. Is it Baker? Maybe Darnold, Josh Rosen, Josh Allen? Give me a like, laughing face, heart, or wow face, respectively. Let me know what you guys think. Once again, Baker Mayfield to the Jets could certainly go down, and I think it's probably the best case scenario for him. Outside of maybe Denver, I think he'd be a nice fit with the Denver Broncos. I think his personality and his mental makeup, along with John Elway, would go hand in hand there. Again, no pressure on him to start in week 1 for Denver either, because you got Case Keenum there at the quarterback position. Paxton Lynch, I guess, as well as an emergency backup too. So keep an eye out for Denver and the New York Jets in terms of destinations for Baker Mayfield in the NFL draft. People are chiming into the comment section. We got JJ saying Baker is the best quarterback. Raphael says Baker is the best as well. I agree. I think he is the most polished QB among all of the prospects. Darnold needs some help in terms of his accuracy, in terms of his turnovers. Josh Rosen needs to improve his leadership skills, needs to improve his accuracy a little bit. And Josh Allen, of course, you could point to many things, but he obviously has the fantastic arm talent at that. So a lot of people are buying into the Baker hype here. Vincent says Baker as well. So there you go. All right, let's continue along here with the NFL headlines. And it sounds like Kurt Warner is the front runner to be the lead color commentator for Monday Night Football. So this is really interesting. So obviously John Gruden is moving on out, or has moved on out. He's with the Oakland Raiders now as the new head coach out there. So if Warner gets the gig, I'm thinking there's going to be a unified positive response to this. I think Warner is one of the better commentators out there. Very smooth, very concise with his thinking and delivering that to the audience. And he has good broadcasting experience as well. If you guys watch NFL Network here and there, you see him there as an analyst. And granted, he's not John Gruden. Nobody is. And I think that's going to be a difficult kind of adjustment for all of us out there that watch Monday Night Football. Like, after John Gruden, it's really hard to replace him. So Kurt Warner will have a bit of an uphill climb to kind of help the audience ease into this new era of a color commentator. Now, I will say this. I think Monday Night Football should go back to the three-man broadcast booth. Remember when it was Mike Tirico and John Gruden and Jaws as well, Ron Jaworski? Like, I think all of that was really fun to watch. That three-man kind of booth there, people kind of bouncing off ideas from one to another. I think it just brings more excitement than, say, a two-man booth. But maybe there was a reason ESPN moved on from the three-man to the two-man. Who knows? But it looks like Kurt Warner is the front runner to be the color commentator there for Monday Night Football. Other names to watch out for: Louis Riddick, Rex Ryan, and who else is getting interviewed? I think there were a couple of other ESPN broadcasters as well. Matt Hasselbeck, as you see on your screen too. Honestly, I think Kurt Warner is the best option. So Vincent says that will be cool. I think it'd be cool as well, Vincent. So we'll see what happens there. Monday Night Football, looking for a new analyst out there. We already know the play-by-play man, Joe Testator. He is a great one at that. Sean McDonough is going back to calling college football games. Who do you want as the next Monday Night Football analyst? Let me know in comments here on Facebook Live as well as YouTube. And we'll see what happens. Ongoing process. ESPN has not announced the new broadcaster yet as they continue to go along with these interviews and these tryouts. I did report on my show, I believe it was last episode, that Brett Favre actually tried out and it didn't go very well. But don't you worry, Brett Favre, because there's the XFL and you can play football yet again. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see if Brett Favre goes back and plays in the XFL. All right, let's go to the next headline here. We got Dwight Freeney. He is retiring. He's calling it a career, and he will, shall we say, return to the Indianapolis Colts and then retire officially as a Colt. Freeney was the 11th overall pick in the 2002 draft, played with the Colts for the next 11 seasons, ended his time in Indianapolis with 107.5 sacks. 3 first-team All-Pro selections and a career of 125.5 sacks, which leaves him in a tie for 17th all-time with my boy, Terrell Suggs from Ball So Hard University. So there you go. Dwight Freeney calling it a career, a great one at that. He was really fun to watch with the Indianapolis Colts. Really had a career of more notably terrorizing Tom Brady. He and Robert Mathis, you remember that duo there on that defensive line. Some great games there. They actually terrorized Joe Flacco a couple times as well. As a Ravens fan, I recall that very vividly. But Dwight Freeney, quite a career for him. So congratulations to him, and he'll be announcing that retirement, by the way, officially on Monday with the Indianapolis Colts. So great stuff there from Dwight. Great to see him. All right, let's get to the final headline before I get into my top 10 games of the 2018 NFL season. Earl Thomas apparently is not holding out, at least according to John Schneider, the Seattle Seahawks general manager there. But John, I'm sure you're probably aware that Earl Thomas didn't show up for workouts on Monday. So yeah, and Earl Thomas also said back in January that he was not going to show up for off-season workouts, or at least he didn't want to if he had 1 year left on his deal, and that is the reality right now. So not really sure what John is going for here. Maybe it's a little PR kind of trick here where he's saying that Earl Thomas won't hold out, and that means, I guess, that Thomas has convinced himself that he won't hold out. I really don't know what Schneider is going for here. So obviously, Thomas is entering the final year of his current contract, where he's set to make $8.5 million this coming season. So I mentioned what Thomas said back in January. That was a statement he made with Jane Slater there of NFL Network back before the Pro Bowl, saying that he wanted security going into 2018. And as an NFL player, I understand that. Like, actually, I'm not saying like I'm an NFL player, but thinking from an NFL player's perspective here, like, would you want to go into 2018 with 1 year left on your deal? And let's say, you know, you blow out your Achilles, it's like, now what? So I understand where Earl Thomas is coming from here. And look, the Seattle Seahawks need him in that back end. Justin Coleman, Shaquille Griffin there as their top two corners don't exactly scare opposing wide receivers. Obviously, Thomas is an important part of that back end along with Cam Chancellor there. So, yeah, I mean, Earl Thomas apparently not holding out, according to John Schneider. Keep an eye on the dates of June 12th through the 14th. Those are mandatory workouts if Thomas does not show up for those. That's bad news there for the Seattle Seahawks. So, Earl Thomas could go to the Dallas Cowboys via a trade. That's still very much in the rumor category out there, so maybe that could go down. We'll see.